Did you think that real estate in Lagos is overpriced?
Um, it depends. I won't say yes and I will not say no. For someone, like I said, some people will just finish building and then they'll just be like, oh, I built this house for 80 million naira. This is Lagos.
Should I build or buy?
Actually, I don't think you want to go through that stress. I would advise you buy. But again, if you are buying, you need to be sure of the developer you are buying from. These people are doing, some of them are doing crazy stuff.
Does expensive mean luxury? The housing crisis in Nigeria is no longer news. If you live in Nigeria or you know someone living in Nigeria, you would know that this is a very serious problem. My name is Oga Peter. This is the Center Side podcast where we talk about every social issues, cultural issues, and everything in between. So today we're going to talk about the real estate situation in Nigeria. And there's no other person to dissect this topic with other than somebody who is in the business of real estate who can help us make sense of all the drama that's going on because everything we see is complaint, shouting, and all that. So we have someone who will explain what's going on. Fine Boy Sam is here,
Thank you.
as always. Our guest today is the CEO of Tush Homes. Now, even the name of the company is something, but we'll get there. Okiki, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, the reason I had to go straight to the point is that many Nigerians are 2 minutes away from being homeless, right? So, just to kick this thing off, what do you think is the reason for the housing crisis in Nigeria?
Okay. I think the major reason, sorry, is not that we don't have regulations in place. We do have, but people are ignorant of some of these things. Government have done a lot of work to put some things in place, and you cannot expect them to monitor all of these things. Just recently, when the special advisor to the governor on housing in Lagos. She spoke, I think, 2 days ago, and she was like, the the 10% agency that people raise, that agents are charging more than 10% and all of that. She said, whenever you see something, say something.
Yeah.
You know that. So many people were like, oh, nothing will still happen. They can only mitigate. Even the so-called tenants that they were trying to fight for, they said, even though we say something, nothing will eventually happen. So even people, I just feel like people are not ready. You
People are
understand?
not ready.
They are not ready. Because if you are ready, you can't be going through stuff like that and then the government tells you to take actions and you just.
Okay, so what should the people do really? Like, what do you expect the people to do? Because if I'm a landlord, or let me use agent first, for example. By the way, why do agents charge more than 10%?
Not all of them.
Or how much? How much standard should agents charge?
So the standard fees has always been 10% for for the commission and 10% for the agreement. That's the tenancy agreement. But we have some areas that are not inclusive. They call them old money. Areas
Yeah.
like Apapa,
Is the Aba
Ikoyi,
included?
Ikeja, GRA, Victoria Island. Those ones they are out of it. But any other area in Lagos State, they are not exempted. 10%.
So those ones that are out of it, how much do they charge then?
It depends.
Discretion.
It depends actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you said 10% agent, 10% commission. So who takes the commission?
Agency's commission.
Hold on. So there's 10% agency
Yeah.
and 10% commission, right?
10% agency or commission.
Oh, or
10%
commission.
agreement.
Oh, agreement.
Okay,
Yes.
agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think I have problem with that agreement because I already agreed to take the house. Why are you charging me for agreeing? So what's that money for?
Okay, so the agreement is actually a document. We call it tenancy agreement. It's usually drafted by a lawyer.
Which you guys photocopy?
No, we don't.
Okay.
The reason you can't photocopy is this. Number one, the name on Mr. Hayes' agreement will be different from the name on Mr. B's agreement,
Yeah.
even if it is the same location or the same house. You understand? Then there's going to be a lawyer seal on the agreement, and if your landlord is photocopying your own agreement for him, then if an issue arises and then you take the matter to court, the agreement will not be tenable in court.
Okay, so let's say I'm paying a rent of 2 million naira, right? The 10% is supposed to be 200,000.
Yes.
So I'm giving the agent 200,000 and I'm giving the supposed lawyer 200,000. I use supposed because most times we don't see any lawyer,
Oh, allegedly.
right?
Allegedly.
Most times we don't see any lawyer. Most times these monies go to the landlord. I mean, you can yes, they go to the landlord. Do you think it is fair, right, that I'm paying commission 10% and then I'm paying another 10% for a document that can be replicated, even if it's not photocopy? Because, for example, if both of us are renting the same apartment, you are the landlord, for example, you have the same lawyer, right? And it's the same document. You just need to change the name. So why are we charging everybody the same amount for the same document that can be replicated without spending any further money?
Okay, thank you. Like I said, the seal, I don't know how much it costs, but if you ask any lawyer, they will tell you that it actually costs them a lot to get that seal. That seal that you see in here.
So you have
on
to
the
get
first
a
page.
new seal per document.
Yes.
Per document.
Yes, that's number one. Number two, it's a professional service. You
Yeah,
can't
it
tell a
is.
lawyer how much he's going to charge for the documentation, no matter how close you are. So it's now left to you, the landlord. If the lawyer is your friend and maybe he doesn't charge you up to that 10%, it's none of our business. But the law states that 10% agreement, 10% agency. You
Okay.
understand now? So 10%, you are not even paying to the lawyer. That's if the lawyer is managing the property. If the house is being managed by the lawyer, then you might meet the lawyer for all those things. But many times, landlords do not. They don't. I think they don't usually want to stress the tenants. So they will just tell you, okay, my lawyer will draft the agreement. You come later to peruse and then to sign. So if you are paying the whole money into the landlord's account, you will be the one to pay the agents and to also pay the lawyer.
All right. So I was going to ask about, in general, landlords and the hike of prices in getting a house. A regular person cannot even afford to rent a regular 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom. It has been so high for a lot of people, and the country is never even better. We are not even in a good state right now where people are financially buoyant to say, okay, I can afford. You see a 2 bedroom house and you're saying 2.53 million naira. And when you even go there, when you get to the house, you see a very small room, a small city room, and they're charging a place 3.5. And in fact, the area might not even be so good. So I don't know what is in. Are there regulations to check the body, or maybe is there a landlord association, or I don't know if they have a WhatsApp group where they decide.
What's the logic behind the
I don't know
pricing?
the pricing of the.
Okay, so basically, there are always the bad eggs. It's not as if there are no laws. They are, but some of these people are also aware of these laws, but they just feel like, now my property, now me know waiting my eyes see before I do
Yeah,
that. And if it cost me like 100 million to build this property, if you are telling me to be collecting to 2 million naira yearly, when will I realize the money? And majority of them forget that you even in 10 years,
Exactly.
rental income
Yes.
is just for the meantime.
Yeah.
The most important thing is just the appreciation on the property. So now that part that you mentioned is actually a great area in the tenancy law. The government does not stipulate that social locations, this is the rent, this has to be the rent, or that has to be the rent. Meanwhile, for sitting tenants,
Yeah.
that your landlord just wake up one day and then arbitrarily just feel like he needs to take his rent up.
Yeah.
Should be what's the name again?
Yeah, Peter.
Oga Peter is collecting 5 million. Why will I be collecting 2 million? The law says something about that. So I think it's in section 37 of the tenancy law. So
Did you know that?
You need to arrest him.
He's a lawyer, he doesn't
You need
know
to
that.
arrest him.
so I think it's in section 37. It states that if there is an unreasonable increment in the rent, unreasonable. Meanwhile, I think there are 3 factors that determines if it is unreasonable
I was
or if
going
it
to
is
ask that,
reasonable.
yeah.
So the first is we need to check the prices of similar apartments in that locality.
Okay.
Number 2, an eyewitness, a witness that can say, yes, I've also gone around to check. You know, you can come to the court and tell them, no, in that locality rent is 2 million. So
Yeah.
there has to be an eyewitness. Number two. Then number three, there has to be a special, how would I put it? There has to be like a special thing that house has that other houses in
special
that.
features
Yeah,
and
special
stuff.
features.
Okay.
So the court will put all of those things into consideration, and then they will not be able to, determine what the rent should be based on those three factors. But sorry to cut you, but for the landlord that just finished building his house, and many of them they'll just be like, just like what I said earlier, I spent so much on this house. If other people are charging 3 million, 5 million, my own has swimming pool.
Yeah.
My own has
has
POP.
POP.
My house has, they will just come up with
That's
a
blue
particular.
lights.
So, but for that one, it's a gray area. No, I mean, but for the sitting tenant, for your landlord to just increase price all of a sudden, no. If it's unreasonable, you can.
But you
can take it up with the landlord.
it's one thing to have laws. It's another thing to test the law. And it's an entire kettle of fish and to enforce it, right? Because these three things you said now, they constitute a very serious bottleneck. Yeah, because, for example, if we live in the same neighborhood and the house is living in is paying 1.5, for example, and then my landlord wakes up one day and say he's charging 2.5, right?
For a sitting tenant.
As a sitting tenant, maybe I used to pay 1.5, and he decides that now he wants to charge 2.5 because he doesn't like what Tinubu is doing. I said I won't going to mention his name, but okay. So, and I decide I'm not comfortable, it's unreasonable. Do you ever, in your experience, has there ever been a situation where somebody took such type of matter up with the law and then they got anything out of it? Because what we hear is if you don't want to pay, you pack out. Is that not a fair statement to make? Has there been a situation, either directly in your experience or someone you know or you've heard about, that went to court because of unreasonable rent increment and got anything?
Like I said earlier, many of us are not ready. Because if you tell your friend that you want to take your landlord to court for increasing your rent, I'm very sure the first thing your friend will tell you is, now you get the house.
Yes. Yes, now. Yes. But is that not fair?
And of which it is one of your rights as a tenant to actually do so, because it's unfair on your own part if you feel it's unreasonable, like I said. So, in my own years of experience, to the glory of God, this is my 8th year. I've not seen such. I've not seen a tenant that will take a landlord to court, or that's taking a landlord to court for incrementing. Because in fact, people are just ignorant. There are laws that favor the law favors the landlord. Some other part of the law favors it's actually balanced.
Yeah.
But people are just I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, but you know this Nigerian factor, so-called, and the fact that when it comes to this house rental and whatever, it feels like there's a power play because the landlords are at a vantage point. Do you get? Here's my thinking, for example. If I own a house and I say I want to charge 10 naira, right? You used to pay 5 naira and you say 10 naira is unreasonable. How does you would feel that going to court might be a waste of your time, one.
As
two,
a landlord?
As a tenant.
As a tenant, okay.
And because you feel like this landlord is rich, he has money. I don't have money to drag this person, so this landlord might intimidate me. In some cases, you feel like this landlord is babao. Let him not go to Ijesha. Do you understand? So he might go somewhere and do something to me. Because even if the court rules in my favor, how do you stay in the house of someone who doesn't like you or who doesn't want you to be there?
Exactly.
So, plus the gray areas around the interpretation of these laws and the fear of the Nigerian situation, I think that's the reason why people don't bother to do anything. So if you increase your rent, so let's move on.
Some people trust the system enough.
It's part of it now.
So
it's part of it. So
and also let me add to what you said. Some tenants will also feel like, let's say for example, a tenant that is paying 1 million naira and then they increase the rent to 2 million naira. If you are going to court, except if you are going to mediation center.
Yeah.
But if you are going to court, it will actually cost you money to hire a lawyer.
Exactly.
So the tenant will be like,
What's the
Instead of
point?
Instead of paying
lawyer, and I
lawyer
don't
to-
even know
Let
when
me use
matter
the
will be
money and
solved.
pay.
Okay, make I just go find another house.
And so that's why the law is just pretty much messed up.
Yeah.
It's not usable. But let's move away from the. We'll
Okay.
come back to that if we have time. But
All right.
one thing that I want to ask: how do real estate people? That's your constituency. How do you people define luxury? Because once they paint a house white and grey, and it has POP and
it has
spotlight,
spotlight.
that is luxury. I've been thinking about this thing for a while. Please help me understand. What does luxury mean in Nigerian real estate? We have abused that word so much.
Yeah.
POP, white paint, spotlight, luxury. Is that what it's?
Actually, no. But you know, a lot of people are in the market. We have barbers, we have fashion designers that are into real estate. Everybody do marketing.
Yeah, but you people say real estate is where money is. Everybody's jumping in.
Well, actually, everybody is jumping in, but they are registered agents. The special advisor I mentioned the other time, she also mentioned it in her statement that most of the people doing that tenancy shit, most of them are not actually registered. So because if you are not registered, you don't even know what the law says, and you have nothing to lose. I have a license, for example. I can't do anything that would jeopardize my. So you understand. So back to the question, many of these people, they just want to say things that people would want to hear, and that will draw your attention. Oh, this is a luxury, blah 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 blah. So yeah, exactly. So it now depends on you when you get there. Is it actually luxury? For some of the houses, actually, some of them are actually luxury. But to take someone that knows luxury.
Yeah. So help us define luxury in that context.
Yeah, luxury, I would say the fittings, the fixtures that the house has.
Like POP.
No, not the POP.
Okay.
Not the POP.
I'm very curious.
Not the POP. Let's say, for example, let's even go to the kitchen. The kind of cooker that is in the kitchen, the kind of heat extractor, the kind of fridge. All these things.
Sam, does your house have? Anyway, moving on. Go on.
I'm talking about I'm talking about sales now, not.
I mean,
Okay.
for sales.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, I'm talking including rented.
Some rented apartment that they say
Do they say
It says
luxury
luxury.
in rentals?
Oh boy. Oh boy. But yeah. Go on.
Okay, so these fittings they actually cost. I've
lot
seen
of
a
money.
TV that cost about 80 million naira before.
But does expensive mean luxury?
Actually, for someone that wants something classy, you don't want something that's general everywhere. Not the regular one. That people will come to your house and they'll be like, oh, it might look simple, but that's why I said for people that understand luxury, they will be able to know that this is luxury.
Okay.
So expensive is actually luxury. If
Okay.
it's expensive, it's not everybody can afford it. That's what luxury means.
Just like buying Gucci and those
But
big names.
yes,
Some of those Gucci doesn't look fine, but it's okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said most of them look simple. They don't even look luxury. But some will just get some flashy things in the house, like you said, paint the house white. And for many people that are not so learned in the industry, they just feel like once the house is fine, it has swimming pool, it has cinema, and it is painted white, and then it has some POP design.
Yeah, some nice
The POP
spotlight.
could even be cardboard, like one I saw
of course.
yesterday. I posted it on my status. Yes. They use cardboard for the POP, something like this, but it's just a bit stronger than this.
Yeah.
And then they now cut, did some kind of designs, and then painted
And it looks fine.
And it looks fine. And you don't know it's not real POP.
Another word that your people have used is mansion. So when they build a tall building, that looks like a basketball court, and small swimming pool in front or at the back, swimming pool that maybe a 3-year-old cannot even stretch in.
Yeah.
And they'll say is a mansion, right? But I don't think we have much time to go into that. There's something that's driving me. There's this guy, Scott, on Instagram that is coming for real estate deals.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think Scott Iguma, his name. So he always talks about how real estate is overpriced in Lagos. Did you think that real estate in Lagos is overpriced?
It depends. I won't say yes, and I will not say no. Now, if you are talking about a house being overpriced, because I know many of them actually say that about houses, not about land.
Yeah.
Now you need to look at the location. How much is the land being sold for? Then what is the cost of building the entire building, building the entire house? Because for someone, like I said, some people will just finish building and then they'll just be like, oh, I built this house for 80 million naira. This is Lagos. I should
Yeah,
be able
let
to
me
sell
just
for
throw in
like
a figure.
250.
250, yeah.
But ideally, you are meant to factor in the cost of. It's just like when you are doing production. Before you put a price tag on a particular
Yeah,
product,
yeah.
you look at the cost of production. So you need to look at the cost of labor, cost of perfection of title, cost of approval, all of those things. And mind you, there are a lot of things going on in the sector that people, I mean, for developers that people don't know. I was telling someone recently, I said I once paid 15 million naira to one KBC in, I mean, somewhere in
Yeah.
Lagos here for just receipts, family receipts. Family receipt that we should not
I
cost.
feel like I know the person. Oh, go on.
I
Yeah,
didn't
no.
mention- I didn't
Go on,
mention-
go on, go on.
family receipt that shouldn't cost more than, let's say, 200k, 500k.
Yeah.
But the family will tell you, "Ah, if you can't pay it, go now." There was even one, the client paid, I mean, it was actually my client. So along the process, she wasn't carrying me along. And then the next time I had, she said she paid. I mean, this was not an eyebrow area. I mean, just one of those, I will not say trenches.
Yeah.
She paid 5 million naira to them. And by the time I got involved, I was like, why would you charge her 5 million? Then they said we should go to court.
Exactly.
I mean, she has gotten receipt. on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And you know, if you are going to get, let's say for example, if it's a property that doesn't have a title before, and then you want to, let's say you want to get C of O, especially if it's a regularized area, the law states that, or the process would require you to have a deed of assignment with the family.
Okay.
So they are well recognized.
Yeah.
So they know that you can't do anything without them. So,
Sure.
okay, for example, now that area I'm talking about, we got the land for 47 million naira from the direct seller. Now we paid
15
Omonile
million.
receipt 15 million naira.
Wow. So that would drive up the.
We have not started building.
Yeah.
When we started building, the Omonile people still came. In fact, there was a particular day I sent the borehole people there to go and dig borehole, just borehole. For them to carry in the instruments into the site, they charge them 300,000 naira.
Wow.
So by the time you start, these things
Yeah.
now, many of you you are not aware of it.
Yeah.
So by the time you start calculating, and then at the end of the day, I arrive at a figure for the price. You be like, for that location.
It will sound crazy, really.
Exactly,
It
and
would-
I
it would
have to
sound
make profit. Igbo people will say, "Now wait till I buy, I go sell."
Yeah.
That's what market people say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you need to make. I can't go through all of that, and then at the end of the day, I'm not be
And
like,
not make-
even though if houses in that location is selling for a particular amount, I need to still make a
Yeah,
little
you
bit
need
of
to make
profit,
something
even if
out
it's
of
not
it.
much. So these are some of the things we are going through. Perfection of title would, I mean, I can't just go into the details of tax that you have to pay.
That's crazy.
Then building approval, all of those things.
Do you think it's
settlement and all
better for someone like me? Do you think it's better is build from the ground up or buy already built?
that? For someone like you, are you a busy person?
Just a random person like
A
me that
random
wants
person.
a house. Should I build or buy?
Actually, I don't think you want to go through that stress. I would advise you buy. But again, if you are buying, you need to be sure of the developer you are buying from. These people are doing, some of them are doing crazy stuffs. Crazy, like the POP I just told you about.
Yeah.
I once saw one that was using 10 mm for foundation.
Whoa.
I don't want anybody to come for me.
Yeah. So we would have gotten into that, but we
yeah,
don't have
so-
enough time. There's one more thing. There's one more thing I would like to quickly touch on. They say that the real estate business in Nigeria is also a front for fraudulent people. That they use it to clean money. You see a lot of luxury apartments in Ikoyi and all those places. They are very empty. Nobody's living there. And then, of course, there are a lot of people who are homeless. So they say you buy a property for 2 billion, 3 billion, and nobody's living there. They're using it to clean money. Do you think there's an element of truth? Or did you ever think like that?
I'm not sure.
But did you think like that?
It might be true that some people are using it to claim money because, like I said earlier, anybody can just wake up today and just feel like, I'm not a developer. So far, you have the capital, you have the cash, and it's not as if there are no laws. Even as a real estate practitioner like me, I have a license. Developers too, they are meant to obtain a license before they start practicing. But government is also busy. Can they start going for everything?
Yeah.
So if someone that doesn't have any knowledge in real estate before, he made his money one way or the other that I don't know, and then just feel like this real estate of a thing, they said I can double my money. One, they said I can use it to clean my money. Let me just go into real estate. You cannot expect that person to offer the same service I'm going to offer.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the business, I have an idea of everything going on. Number one, number two, I'm also licensed, so that makes
You have a
that-
reputation.
I have a reputation, so I have to be very careful.
Yeah.
So we have the bad eggs that have infiltrated the industry already.
Have you ever heard the cost of an apartment or a property and you said, this is ridiculous,
Yes.
right?
I mean, I see things.
And it shock you.
I'm telling
Is it like
you.
it's too high or too low?
Too high.
Too high.
why would
Really
you-
too
can
high.
you
So
put
how's
it
that
in-
too high?
too
As
low?
in-
Too high.
Anyway,
So-
thank you very much for breaking all these things down.
You're welcome.
Now, I wish we had enough time to go into many other areas
Yeah,
like
definitely.
mortgage and how regular people like us can own properties, because these days everybody talks about land banking, buy land and wait.
And wait
You
till
know,
it
buy
appreciates.
land in 30 years time it will appreciate. I don't even know if I'll be here in 30 years time, right? I've not eaten. Do you understand? I just want to make it to the next day. You're asking me to buy. Anyway, I'm just joking. But so I'm hoping that you will come again
Yeah, sure.
so that we can have time to actually break down
Yeah,
how people can own properties or own lands and to avoid those omonile, whatever,
Those ones,
because
you can't do without
people
them.
are afraid of buying properties in Lagos, especially people who are from the other side of the country.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because they will harass you,
Harass you,
intimidate you. At the end of the day, you might even lose your property. So we would really love for you to come again so that we would have enough time to break this down and you explain to us how to go about it. Because it's nice to talk to legit people
Exactly,
like you,
yeah.
you know, who have a face and have a reputation, so that you know who to catch. Do you understand? You know, all these random people.
Yeah.
Tush Homes and Properties.
Properties,
yes.
Abi, I like the sound of the name.
Yeah.
I really like the sound of the name, and I'm hoping to buy property from you.
Amen.
Amen.
Very soon.
What's the list? What's the list I can have to get the property from you?
You mean a land or house?
A house.
House, definitely.
If you are looking at an apartment, I think
Maybe like a three. I mean, in three of
Yeah,
four
three
bedroom,
bed.
Three
like
bed.
a 3-bed, 90 million is
90 million.
To fly.
Okay, let me start saving
for,
90
for a
million.
good one. Oh.
Yeah.
There are a lot of apartments in Lagos that
No, I like good one. You said good one, 90 million.
not good one in terms of the
But it's luxury,
aesthetics,
now it has
oh.
POP
not
also.
even the luxury, the ones that the government will not come tomorrow and demolish.
And demolish.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh, no, that's better. That's better.
Because
That's better. So I will
Yeah.
start saving. So if I start saving 300 every day, give or take 50 years time, I'll be able to raise that money. And I'll contact you. Thank you
No
very much.
problem.
Okibi.
Alright,
Thank you
alright.
so much
It's
for
my
coming on the
pleasure.
show. I appreciate you, and we're hoping
Yeah.
to see you again next
sure,
time.
definitely.
So guys, let's know what you think about the housing crisis situation in Nigeria. It's not always to complain, right? Educate yourself, inform yourself, know the reason why these things happen. And of course, it's not everything that is Tinubu. They say he built Lagos.
They say what?
Tinubu built Lagos.
I don't know.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. And we're out. Thank you so
Alright,
much.
yeah.
Thank you.